it didn't do. So that check is for us. So, okay, so Sarah, yes, you can hear. Okay, so let's double check and make sure everyone can hear. Excellent. Angela, are you good? Okay, perfect. All right, so it looks like we're all good to go. Everyone can hear me. So I'd also like you to grab a pen or pencil and a pad of paper. If you have dual monitor screens, maybe open a Word document. We're going to be completing a couple writing exercises throughout the session. And if you're a virtual participant, this is going to help you have your document ready to upload when you put it in Dropbox to get points for being in class today. So the topic for today's class is what role can social media play in thinking and learning collaboratively. Learning objectives I have laid out for this 15 or so minute session. One is I'm hoping everyone can gain an understanding of the magnitude of social media use. Secondly, what are some possible benefits or limitations associated with using social media for learning? And then we'll have a little bit of time to talk about strategies that we could possibly integrate if we're going to bring in a social media platform to our learning environment. So if we look some of the recent data out, Hootsuite does some surveys, and if you go out and Google, you'll see these are some of the top social media platforms for 2020. I'm going to focus on just a handful though, and I want to look at some of the top 5 that many people are using or have experience with, and I want to do that through a polling method. So what I'm going to do in front of you, you should see 5 options to choose. So what I'd like you to do is answer the questions. If you're looking at this, which ones do you use most frequently? If it's all 5, you can check all 5, and then we can kind of like go back a little bit. But let's see which ones really seem to stand out the most. Couple minutes. So we have 1 for Facebook. Let's see, I don't think it's accepting them all. Okay, let me see. Okay, so Leslie, let's pick your top 2.
Would you like me to respond by voice?
Sure.
My top two I think that I use right now are Instagram and Twitter that I'm on the most, but I do use LinkedIn quite a bit as well, and I watch a lot of YouTubes, but okay. The top ones are really Instagram and Twitter for the most part these days.
Okay, all right, thank you. Angela, what about you?
Can you hear me? Sorry. I use Facebook and YouTube. I don't even have an Instagram account or a LinkedIn account or a Twitter account.
Okay. Sarah, what about you?
I use all of them except for Instagram. Well, I do have an Instagram account, but I just don't really get it, I guess. I use Facebook a lot, especially because I have foreign family members. It helps a lot. I have LinkedIn because I meant to use it, but I don't really. And I also have Twitter, but I got burned there too many times, so I try to ignore it. But mostly Facebook and YouTube.
Okay, all right, great, thank you. So let's look, if you were to, so the reason, so you have a variety of different uses for social media or different platforms you use. What I'd like to do is I'd like to use a tool here in our web conferencing session, and where you can indicate if you were to pick the #1 reason or purpose behind using social media, what is that? So if you're looking at your screen on the top left, you should see an arrow, a little hand, and then you should see if you hover over it, it says pencil. Kind of looks like a crayon to me. If you click on that, circle out of the 3 different reasons people may use social media, which one is your primary reason? To get information, to share information, or to communicate with others? 3. Okay, so to get information or communicate with others. Okay, and I don't know who's necessarily saying what, but based on Sarah's response, communicate with others, it sounds like that might have been, okay, so Leslie, you're red, so yours is to get information. Angela, so look, okay, so Sarah said communicate with others, which is what I heard in her previous response. So, okay, excellent. Love it. All right. So now what I want to do is, social media, like the term leadership, has a variety of definitions. So what I'd like you to do is open up the chat. Well, you guys know how to use chat. It's all right there. So looking at the first definition, I'm not going to read it to you. I'll have you glance over it quickly. If you were to pick a word or two that stands out to you in that definition, what would it be? And go ahead and write that word in the chat box. Okay, user generated and interactive. Okay, interactive, user generated. I like the term exchange as well, so it indicates that there's some type of interaction, which is what Leslie had mentioned. So if you look at the second definition, are there any other words that stand out that may be different from the initial definition? And you can put that in the chat box. Okay. Yeah, I know, Leslie. That's good. That's good. So I really, even though there are two separate definitions, I think there's power in both. So you've got, and you identified some of it from social media allows you to create something, and then we have the user generated content. So you're creating something, there's an exchange, there's a network, and then there's some level of interaction. So based on the definition, there's some indication that possibly this could be part of something we could use in a learning environment. This is pretty cool. I found this on Hootsuite again, which is a social media management tool. And one of their recent studies, and I want to say it was just in the past week, they came out and they identified almost 50% of the world's total population, 3.8 billion people, the population uses social media. So out of curiosity, so you see that number, you're looking at the slide, on the lower part of your screen, there's emoticons. So if you pick an emoticon that is expressive of your reaction to that number. So you have a lot to pick from. If you select the smiley face, it gives you options. So you see the slide and you're like, boom, what's your right? I had a similar one. All right. Okay, cool. Mine was one, I think, when I did it, my eyes were popping out, and I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Yeah, right? So those are good. So, as much as there are so many people who are anti-social media, it is part of our world, and as we're working with various generations, younger, especially if we're in the K through 12, or if we're in higher ed and have the traditional students, we're having to figure out how do we incorporate this, because they are on social media. So let's look at some of the potential benefits and limitations of social media for learning. So on that sheet of paper, or if you have a dual monitor and have a Word document, I'd like you to number your page, but just write out 1 through 12 in a column. Vertically, write 1 through 12. You don't have to worry about penmanship or anything along those lines. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read off each one, and I'm going to say, okay, so next to number 1, an inability to arbitrate, which is essentially you're not given the opportunity to look at differences of opinion and make a decision. Okay, so the inability to arbitrate. Is that a benefit for social media and learning, or a limitation? If you think it's a limitation, you're going to write R next to number 1. Number 2, spontaneous and superficial. Is that beneficial, or is that a limitation? And you're going to write an R or an L. Number 3, it offers an outlet for written reflection. Number 4 is it can create discourse. And discourse, from a terminology standpoint, is the opportunity to listen to different opinions and perspectives, and then share those in an environment. Number 5 is keep us in our comfort zone. Is that a benefit or is it a limitation? Mindless interaction. Is that a benefit or a limitation? Moving on to the number 7, it can offer a creative integration of ideas. It can create confirmation bias, which is an avoidance of contrary perspectives and facts those that may differ from your own. Number 9, entertains. Number 10 has the potential for ideological cocooning, which is essentially saying you're living with assumptions and beliefs that aren't being challenged. Can cause groupthink, which is where people don't question an opinion. Is that going to be beneficial or lead toward a limitation? And 12, like-minded individuals. Okay, anybody need more time? If you need more time, you can raise your hand.
I missed number 5. Could you go back one?
Absolutely.
Thank
Number
you.
5, keeps us in our comfort zone. Okay, so let's see how we did here. Okay, so on the left, we've got 3, 4, and 7 can potentially be a benefit of social media, but the limitations are a little bit larger, probably based on why social media initially was created. Did anyone have something different? If so, raise your hand or just jump in. Yeah, go ahead.
I had number 9 as a potential benefit.
Okay.
I mean, I think it's beneficial to use Facebook or something like that for entertainment. So,
could entertainment add to learning?
I guess that depends on entertainment. I mean, if you put a video in your lesson, even though it's a video, they could still learn something from that, but it could still be entertaining at the same time. So I think it might depend on like what kind of entertainment it is.
Absolutely, absolutely. Perfect. Anybody else? There's one other one that could potentially go to the left.
I had put number 12, because like-minded individuals can sometimes be different from confirmation and groupthink. Sometimes having a shared interest in something can help you build a community. So, you could say that we're all like-minded individuals here in that we've got an interest in using technology in education, but it doesn't necessarily mean that we've got like groupthink or just aren't willing to listen to other people's ideas.
Absolutely. Perfect. Those were the 2 that you could argue to go definite to the left based on how you positioned it. Absolutely. And that was the example, Sarah, I was going to give. Like-minded individuals, we're all here, but yet we have different approaches to a common goal. So, excellent. Okay, so just some entertaining facts, So in the research, YouTube has been cited for people using YouTube tend to go to it for entertainment, to seek information, or for academic learning. So if I'm going to ask you to raise your hand, how many of you have used YouTube for one of those 3 reasons? Okay, Angela. Sarah has? Okay.
I have used it in academic learning, but I've also used it for entertainment, watching videos and stuff.
Right, and it definitely offers a dual mode. What makes YouTube more of also falls in the social media aspect is if you watch those videos, if you go to the bottom, there's also an opportunity to comment and have a discussion. So it moves it a little. I looked at it thinking, I'm not sure that's social media, but it moves it over to a different social media venue because you have an opportunity to comment. However, it's not necessarily driven in the way we're going to talk about here in a few minutes. Facebook, this was an interesting piece. They give priority to content that they believe creates meaningful interactions. So I thought that was a piece of information that was interesting. So, Facebook does know what you're doing and they do pay attention to things. A couple studies I think that are relevant. One was done by a group of doctoral students that said they use social media to seek and share information regarding research and their study. Also, through a group of interns, they use blogs and Facebook or Facebook to engage in problem solving, information sharing, and knowledge construction. So there is some evidence out there to support that use of social media can be positive in a learning environment. So these are things that we know. It's through connections with others that we fully expand capabilities of human intelligence. Through interacting, sharing ideas, different perspectives, we can begin to create our own meaning and the relevance of it. And we learn that through some of the classes we've been taking here at Wright State. So a couple things we need to think about when we're using social media is it needs to be a thoughtful application. If we go back to that list, there are a good number of liabilities for social media. So we need to thoughtfully apply it. And secondly, we need to take into consideration, if we're using social media, how can we incorporate a level of discourse as well as collaborative activities? And then finally, as we talk about learning, the reflection piece. To what degree can we cause people to take what they're hearing and understanding, create some meaning, and then build on what they knew prior to that interaction with others? And then how do we do that in a way that creates new ideas? So not only are we going to reflect, we're going to have discourse and some collaborative learning, but from that, what are we going to do to create some new ideas? So if we're looking at the potential social media sites, let's pick for kicks. I'm going to pick Facebook. Okay, and two of you indicated Facebook. It's been out there a while, and it is the most used currently today social media. So if we consider Facebook, how might you use Facebook to create a collaborative learning environment in the workplace? So I'm going to give you a couple minutes. 1 minute. On that sheet of paper, can you think of any way, and if you want to go out and Google, if you want to do anything in the next minute, that you might be able to incorporate Facebook? How could you make it a collaborative learning environment? I'll give you about a minute, and then I'll see who's got some thoughts. All right, I know it's a little shy of a minute. Who's got a thought they'd like to share related to what they could do? Go ahead, Sarah.
Actually, I'm stealing this from one of my colleagues. He actually runs groups on Facebook. He sets up a private page, which you can do, and then he invites all his students to it, and they hold discussions there. He posts prompts, they share images, all sorts of things. So he does some great classes about travel writing, stuff like that,
Okay.
and he posts all sorts of things in there. So he kind of runs a virtual class that way. It's kind of exciting.
Yeah, and have the students responded positively?
Oh my gosh, yes, because I'm often in them, because to start one of those groups, to be able to invite other people, he has to have at least one of a member, apparently. So I'm his fake student in that, so I get to see that all the time.
Outstanding, outstanding. Great example, great example. Anybody else? Okay, that's definitely a good one to consider doing, is creating groups. And you can do groups in LinkedIn. So, there are a number of different venues in which you can incorporate that. So virtual learners, make sure that you're putting your responses down on your document. So, to recap, what I'd like to do is an activity where you fill in the blank. So at the bottom, you see there's a word bank down there, and we're going to do this just in the chat function. So which word do you think fits best, fill in the blank? So when integrating social media into learning, we must be sure to do it. What are your thoughts on the fill-in term? It's going to be one of the 5 in the word bank. Thoughtfully. Perfect. Secondly, when integrating social media, we should encourage debate and negotiation of understanding through critical what? Okay, reflection. When integrating social media into learning, we must develop blank blank that encourage students to work together to solve problems. All right, so I'm going to give you this next one, and then I'm going to have, let's see. Integrating social media into learning, we must challenge students to rigorously analyze, conceptualize, and assess ideas through personal. The last one's reflection. And there was, so what I saw was, okay, so there are two different, so there's a couple discrepancies. One is we got thoughtfully, that was easy. The second one, encourage debate and negotiation of understanding through critical discourse, is the answer I had in mind. However, I think discourse and reflection, if you saw all 5 of them, I think it would be an easy match. But because this one came first, even in some of my trial runs, I noticed that reflection was kind of switched. So then if you look, personal reflection is going to fit better than personal discourse, because obviously you need to have someone else in order to have discourse. So that's a recap. So from this session, do you believe with a thumbs up or a thumbs down that you can create a collaborative learning environment using social media? Yay or nay? Okay. I got 1 thumbs up, 2 thumbs up, 3 thumbs up. Excellent. Does anybody have any questions? Any answers I can provide? All right, so your assignment is to submit your responses in Dropbox by midnight tonight to earn credit for attending the class. Here are references if any of you are interested, and I will send you the slides later. And I hope everyone has a great evening.